I'm 82 years old. I was married to my husband Harry for 60 years. Good years, I thought. Steady years. Everyone at St. Bartholomew's would have told you we were the solid ones. 60 years, in the same pew, the same house, the same life. And then Harry died. And 3 weeks later, my daughter found a small key taped inside his desk. A key that didn't fit any lock I knew about. That key opened a safety deposit box 45 minutes away. And inside that box was a different marriage. A different man. A whole life I'd never seen. Let me tell you what I found. I'm 82 years old. I've been a widow twice. Once when Harry died, and again when I found out who he was. My name is Dorothy Kavanagh. Most people called me Dot. Harry called me Dot. For 60 years, that's who I was. Dot Kavanagh, Harry's wife. I raised 3 children in that name. I buried my parents and his parents in that name. I sat in the same pew at St. Bartholomew's every Sunday for 6 decades, right next to the man I thought I knew. 60 years. You want to know what that looks like? That's 21,900 days of sleeping next to someone, of making their coffee, of knowing how they take their eggs, what tone of voice means they've had a hard day, which silence means they're angry and which silence means they're just tired. I knew everything about Harry, or I thought I did. It wasn't a passionate marriage, I never expected that. My generation didn't marry for passion. We married for steadiness. And Harry was steady. He worked for the same insurance company for 38 years, regional manager by the end. He paid the bills, he fixed the cars. He showed up at recitals and graduations and weddings. He wasn't romantic, but who needed romance? Romance was for movies. We had something better. We had reliability. That's what I told myself for 60 years. We had reliability. Here's what I remember about our 45th anniversary. 2007. Harry made reservations at Lucia's, the little Italian place where we'd had our wedding rehearsal dinner back in 1962. He brought me flowers. Yellow roses. He knew I loved yellow roses. We sat at a table near the window. The same window we'd sat by 45 years earlier, when I was 20 years old, and sure I'd found a good man. And I looked at Harry across that table, his hair grey now, his hands spotted with age, and I thought, we made it. Whatever this was, we made it. But that night, Harry was distracted. He kept checking his phone. Left the table twice. Just need to use the restroom, Dot. At the time, I told myself he was getting older. Maybe nervous about the sentiment of it all. Harry was never good with sentiment. I held on to that dinner for years. Proof that he tried. Proof that underneath the distance there was love. Now I wonder, who was he texting? Was the whole dinner a performance? Was I sitting across from a man who was thinking about another woman, another family, while I sat there feeling grateful? That's the thing about what I found. It doesn't just destroy your future. It reaches backward and poisons everything you thought was real. 3 weeks after Harry's funeral, my daughter Susan came over to help me clean out his office. Harry had always kept that office locked. Tax papers, he'd say. You don't want to deal with all that, Dot. And I didn't. I trusted him. That's what wives did in my generation. We trusted. Susan was going through his desk when she found it. A small key, taped inside an envelope, stuck to the bottom of a drawer. It didn't fit any lock in our house. We checked. Every door, every cabinet, every lockbox I knew about. Susan looked at me and said, Mom, this goes to something. It took us 2 days to figure out where. A safety deposit box at a bank in Chester County, 45 minutes from our house. A bank Harry had no business at that I ever knew of. I'll never forget standing in that bank. The way the fluorescent lights buzzed. The way the clerk smiled at me, polite and unknowing, as she led us to a small room with a metal table. She slid the box toward me and left us alone. Susan opened it. Property deeds. A house I'd never seen. Photographs. A woman, dark-haired, smiling. 2 children at various ages. Growing up through the years. Birthday parties I wasn't at. Graduations I didn't attend. A whole life running parallel to mine. And letters. One of them began, My darling Harry. I couldn't stand. Susan had to guide me to a chair. The clerk came back and asked if I was all right. I couldn't answer her. What was I supposed to say? I just found out my husband had another family for 31 years. 31 years. Do you understand what that means? Our children's weddings. He had another family. Our grandchildren being born. He had another family. Christmases, Thanksgivings, our 50th anniversary, all of it. He was splitting himself in two, and I never knew. I never even suspected. The other woman's name was Patricia. Patricia Novak. She had 2 children with Harry. They're adults now. One of them, I worked out the dates later, was born in 1987. 1987. The year Harry came home late one night, smelling faintly of smoke. He told me there'd been a small fire at the office. He'd helped evacuate the building. I got up and made him tea. I was so grateful he was safe. He sat at our kitchen table that night and held my hand. He looked me in the eyes and said, "I don't know what I'd do without you, Dot." He said that to me while his other child was being born. There's a phrase for what happened to me. Susan found it. Retrospective betrayal. It means the past itself changes. Every memory you have gets re-examined, re-categorized, questioned. Was that real? Was he thinking about her? Was any of it true? I stopped sleeping. I'd lie in our bed, the bed we'd shared for 60 years, and replay every moment I could remember. The 45th anniversary dinner, now poisoned. The night of the fire, now a knife in my chest. The way he'd come home from business trips and kiss me on the forehead. Where had he really been? Susan was angry. Righteous, burning angry. She wanted to contact the other woman, expose them, do something. But there was nothing to do. Harry was dead. The other family had their own grief. What would confronting Patricia accomplish, except spread the devastation further? My son Michael struggled. He didn't want to believe it. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like, Mom. Maybe there's an explanation. He needed his father to still be the man he thought he knew. I understood that. I needed it too. But the documents didn't lie. The photographs didn't lie. The letters, signed with love, didn't lie. I went to Father Thomas. I'd known Father Thomas for 20 years. I thought maybe he could help me make sense of it. Give me some framework for the faith I'd carried my whole life. He listened. He nodded. And then he said, "Maybe he had his struggles, Dorothy. Men of that generation." I left the rectory and sat in my car for an hour. Men of that generation. As if that explained anything. As if keeping a secret family for 3 decades was just a generational quirk, like not knowing how to use a computer. Here's what I've come to understand in the year since I found that key. I will never know who Harry really was. I've thought about this. A man doesn't keep 2 lives for 31 years without some kind of pain in him. I don't know what his pain was. I never got to ask. The cruelty of death is that he took the answers with him. Did he love Patricia? Did he love me? Did he know how to love at all? Or were we both just roles he played? I'll never know. That question will follow me to my own grave. But here's what I do know. The night of that fire, when Harry held my hand and said he didn't know what he'd do without me, I believed him. Completely. I loved him completely in that moment. My love was real. My trust was real. My 60 years of trying to be a good wife, those were real. Harry's deception makes him a liar. It doesn't make me a fool. I didn't know because I didn't look. Or maybe I looked the way he taught me to look. I accepted the locked office, and the business trips, and the emotional distance, because that's what wives of my generation did. We didn't ask questions. We trusted what we were shown. That's not stupidity. That's what being human is. 6 months after I found that safety deposit box, I was standing in my kitchen. Early morning. I'd made 2 cups of coffee, the way I had every morning for 60 years. One for me, one for Harry. His was black, 2 sugars. I still knew exactly how he took it. I stood there holding both cups, and I realized what I was doing. Making coffee for a man who was gone, a man I didn't even know anymore. I poured his cup down the sink, and I said out loud, to the empty kitchen, to myself, I was a good wife to whoever you actually were. That's mine. You can't take that. That's not forgiveness. I'm not there yet. I may never be. But it's something. It's me taking back my own story. My 60 years were real, even if his were a performance. The love I gave, the life I built, the faith I kept, those belong to me. If you're listening to this and you've discovered something about your marriage that makes you question every memory, I'm telling you what no one told me. Your love was real. Your trust was real. The fact that you were betrayed doesn't mean you were stupid. It means you believed what someone showed you. That's not weakness. That's what being human is. You can survive the revision. You can grieve what you thought you had, and still stand up in the morning. I'm living proof. I'm still here. I'm still angry some days. Still sad most days. But I'm still here. I live in the same house. I go to church, but I sit in a different pew now. I have dinner with Susan every Sunday. I've learnt to make 1 cup of coffee instead of 2. And if you're in a marriage right now and there are locked doors, literal or otherwise, maybe ask about them. Maybe don't wait 60 years to wonder what's on the other side. If this meant something to you, share it with someone who might need to know they're not alone.